Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Stabenow, thanks for having the hearing, and thank you, Secretary Perdue, for being here today and sharing your thoughts with us about the state of agriculture. Since being confirmed as USDA Secretary, you've been traveling the country, and we appreciate that. You've been to my state more than once, actually, and I appreciate the hands-on approach you've taken to how the actions that are taken by and policy ideas that are put forward impact South Dakota and American agriculture. And I'm sure what you've heard from farmers around this country and ranchers is that they're hopeful, they're resilient, but they're also anxious and concerned about their future, their family's future, and the sustainability of their operations. And in my state of South Dakota, Mr. Secretary, and I would argue in the broader rural economy, I think that the success and prosperity of agriculture is really contingent on three major areas, all of which you can address. First is, of course, trade. Second is the RFS, Renewable Fuel Standard, which you've heard talked about quite a bit today. And the last is the Farm Bill. The fourth factor is the weather, and which is always a factor in South Dakota agriculture, but I don't believe that's something you have any control over. So regarding agricultural trade, I'd just like to go on the record in opposition to ad hoc price loss payments to producers who suffer economic loss from trade sanctions, tariffs, and loss of export markets due to our trade policies. We urgently need well-crafted trade agreements that maintain and expand markets, and we need these agreements sooner rather than later. Farmers and ranchers need and want their income from the marketplace, not market loss assistance payments from the federal government. And so I hope that we are working aggressively to open up more trading opportunities for American agriculture for our farmers and ranchers. Finally, I do want to express I appreciate the quick turnaround regarding a letter I sent on April 16th after Winter Storm Xantos pounded portions of South Dakota with record snowfall right before birthing season. I received a response yesterday from Undersecretary Northey informing me that FSA is announcing clarifications to the LIP policy later today based on that request. So I'd like to say now that your timely response and sensitivity to this issue to assist our livestock industry is very much appreciated. Last May, as I mentioned, you came to South Dakota. You joined me on a tour of the Black Hills National Forest and saw firsthand the effects that the pine beetle infestation has had. You also had the chance to see the positive impact that thinning and the timber sales program have had on forest health in South Dakota. However, a large portion of the Black Hills National Forest remains at high risk of catastrophic wildfires. So can you tell me if we can expect timber sales to increase this year in the Black Hills National Forest?
Senator, under the authorities you all provided us in the forest management as well as the fire funding, we certainly hope so. We'll prioritize those, and I would expect there are a lot of pent-up demand elsewhere and in many other places. I can't specifically address what the plan is for that, but I can have our chief forester tell you what the forest plan regarding sales are. But what you all were able to do in that bill frees us up to do what we need to do. And what I saw in your area in the Black Hills Forest showed me very demonstrably how good forest management can make a difference in insects and in wildland fires.
Okay, good. Well, that was the intended effect of the legislation. Let me just reiterate a point that's been made by a number of my colleagues already on the RFS. These waivers that have been granted by EPA are a backdoor way to reduce the renewable fuel standard and the RVO. And then the President's express commitment, which you were, I think, at that meeting that we all attended, where he indicated his desire to move forward with year-round E15 sales, that is really critical. And I hope that we can count on you to make the arguments on behalf of American agriculture to the administration. You mentioned earlier a lot of this is in the EPA's, and I understand the EPA, and I understand where they're coming from, and I understand they maybe have a different view or a different position, but from agriculture standpoint, we need strong advocates to this administration to expand E15 sales year-round, and secondly, to put a stop to these waivers that EPA continues to grant to refiners out there that are supposed to be for hardship, but clearly in this case have been used for for purposes other than that. And so I will reiterate what's already been said by a number of my colleagues, but I just want you to know how important this is to agriculture across this country and how important we view your advocacy to be in terms of the administration's, shaping the administration's views with respect to the future of the RFS. I have a couple of other questions with respect to the Farm Bill, Mr. Chairman, but I see my time has expired, and it's not even high noon. So with that, I will yield back.